He's riding around with a chainsaw. Boo! Good for him, but just see what he can actually do. I would be in tears and swear whoa, that I would make mistakes, because I hate to make mistakes. He was a stallion at that time. When I was wanting to go left, he was going right. He was rearing to himself in a mirror. I think it just suits me. I often feel it's easier to communicate with animals than with people.
So guys, I just wanted to interrupt for a moment to tell you about an amazing device we use here for the management and treatment of our horses and many other horses that come to the TRT stables. The HOFMAG K8 is an electromagnetic therapy machine. It is a therapy for the treatment of bones, joint and soft tissue, which of course includes the muscles, really important for us. It's the next generation and leading machine in electromagnetic therapy. It works for a large range of treatments. It is accelerated healing by stimulating cells to kickstart the healing process. I use it on myself and of course all of my horses. If you want to find out more, go to hofmag.com/TRT. Say it again, hofmag.com/TRT. Now let's get back to the episode. G'day guys, welcome back to TRT the Podcast. Today we have a very special guest, a highly requested one from a lot of you, and it was pushed through also by quite a few members of the team. It's a podcast that made me a little nervous in preparing for it, actually. It's actually getting a bit warm in the studio right now. I would like to welcome to the podcast my beautiful wife, Katja.
Hello.
I actually, preparing for this, I searched up what is the do nots, what is the don't do's for a podcast guest. Don't interview your wife was high up on the list. It's funny to think, actually, I'll be asking you a lot of things that I generally don't know the answers to. So, and it's nice we just made time actually to speak to each other in the schedule.
That's definitely nice.
Katja Gevers. We'll start with that because at the beginning of the story you weren't Katja Tucker. We'll be starting a little bit in the beginning with your pony fascination. Where did the pony fascination, the pony girl fascination come from in the beginning? Just a bit of framework so people know.
Actually, because of my mom. My mom was riding at a riding school every Sunday, and I begged to come with her. And then when I was 6, I was finally allowed to come with her. And so that's how it started, our family trip every Sunday. After a while, my sister also joined us. We were going every Sunday to the riding school. That's how it started.
And actually you were the only, Miriam didn't follow through with the riding. Actually, you were the only one of the two sisters that carried it on, huh?
Yes, my sister kept riding until she was 15. And then she got other interests, but it was really nice to grow up together and doing the ponies together. Also for my mom and dad.
Yeah.
That was really a family thing.
Yeah. And of course, I always thought I had a natural affinity to animals and a deep connection with animals, and that animals liked me. Of course, being an only child and my parents were divorced, I spent a lot of time with my animals until I met you. Where does you think your love for animals and that natural connection come from?
I don't know. I often feel it's easier to communicate with animals than with people. Yeah, I don't know. I think actually I have no idea where it comes from.
It's just something that you like to do, and you give them the feeling that you like them, and we'll get into it later on how those things you've also related to me. But it was something that I noticed in the beginning, being an only child, and then I spent a lot of time with the animals and a lot of time with the horses, and I always felt like that they liked me. If I went in and someone had a dog that didn't particularly agree with everybody, I was always able to get along with it. And then when we were together, often, if we would turn up to a place or we were sitting there and I see, someone had a cat, and I would think, oh, normally I was used to the cat coming to me first, but they always seem to go around me and go to you now. And even our own guard dog.
I guess I'm the softer one.
That's how it works. So what are some of the clear things you remember from your pony days? Of course, we hear stories from Papa that he was doing marathons at that time. And often, what are some of the special moments in the pony days that really stick with you? And maybe that pony girl that sort of has those dreams and experiences, what things still live with you now?
Well, uh, like I said, I started riding at the riding school, and then my mom and dad did see that I liked horses a lot, so they thought we buy a pony for her. And then there was a little foal born at the riding school, and they had the possibility to buy it. And at first, it was just living in a little shed in our backyard because we were living just in a suburb, and we had to bring it every day to the field. And then when it was 3 years old, I had to break it in myself. Little did we know that wasn't a good idea because to start with, the pony was really, really spoiled. Because, yeah, what do you want to do when you're 8 years old? You want to just play with the pony and cuddle him, and you don't really educate him. And he also, yeah, he was brought up by us and some sheep, and not with mates who sometimes said, like, this is not a good idea. So, yeah, I think you guys already feel it coming. It wasn't an easy start. I was falling off the pony a lot. And also, when I was going to the pony club, they were always very disappointed if I came because my pony would always take off. And then, of course, all the other ponies would go with him. So everybody was upset. But still, I don't know how, but I kept riding and I kept going on. And then there was a time that I think I did my first show. And then I ended up like 5 rings next to it. And then in the end, he didn't want to go on the trailer. And then, like you just said, my dad was doing the marathons at that time. So he ran the pony home by hand. But then my parents said, like, this is not fun. So we have to sell the pony. But I was very, very, very sad. I agreed with them. It wasn't fun. And it was taking all the joy out of it. So yeah, we sold the pony, and then we actually, by friends, or people we knew from the pony club, could buy another pony, which again was a 3-year-old. And my mom was like, "Oh, I don't think that's a good idea." But my dad and we went to look for the pony, and I just had a ride, and I said, "No, I want this one." And it was also a very green pony, but she was good as gold. It was a very, very good pony, and then I had a bit of better start.
That maybe explains a little bit why your determination for making things works. It comes from working with one that's maybe difficult and trying to get it to work out.
I do get frustrated, but I don't really want to give up.
So we're going to go then skipping to acquiring probably the equine soulmate of your life. At that time, you, of course, were working for Nico Witte. And then you acquired the young Thriller. Tell us a little bit that story. How your first encounters, and then maybe the first years. Actually, you had a horse before that was also quite interesting. He was also not the easiest.
He was not the easiest, no. He was a very, very pretty horse, but he was super strong, and he was actually jumping bred, but at a really nice dressage frame. That's how I got away with it a lot, because it looked nice, but he wasn't a great mover. But as it turned out, he had how do you say that? A fright actually from music, or an association from his jumping days. So when I did my first championships, there came just before I went into the ring, the rider next to me got an applause and music, and then the horse got a total meltdown. He thought he was in a prize giving or whatever. So it was a big horse. I was only 15 years old. And he was just going away with me, and it was like a complete disaster. And that kept coming back a bit, like doing a freestyle to music, of course. And I did do juniors with him, and I did do a few international shows, but it was quite difficult. But at the same time, because of his appearance, he did bring me a lot. I did get to ride internationals with the juniors, and I did get to ride young riders and championships and whatever. but still, yeah, we knew there was going to be an end. And also he wasn't reliable. So that's why we thought we buy a young horse and like educate it again and then see how far we can go. And like you said, I was working at Nico Wittes at that time, and he had a few youngsters just coming from the stallion test. And he said, well, you can buy one of them. And then Thriller, I think it just suits me, wasn't easy at all.
Did you choose him? Or did
I
you just say,
chose
"Hey,
him myself.
Oh.
Yes. And just he had that, I don't know, when I was riding him, he always had a really nice bounce, but the riding wasn't easy. He was a stallion at that time. When I was wanting to go left, he was going right. He was rearing to himself in a mirror. Putting a bridle on was really difficult. It was really difficult with his ears. I think he did the stallion test when he was young, and I think they must have smacked him between the ears because he was rearing a lot. So there were some traumas, but still, I picked him myself because I just had I felt something with him. Our road wasn't easy.
Yeah.
Probably a lot of people know. But he's what, like you said, he is my soulmate.
It's interesting how actually, if a lot of people saw you back then riding international, and also the way you sit and the sort of ring craft that I was impressed by in the beginning, that most people would think that you had really an easy ride, like good ponies, perfectly behaved. You could work on the test, you could go to the competition and just practice your lines and have a really easy time. But actually you had more of a similar upbringing with horses than I did. I had also a pony that just took off on me all the time, and then I had thoroughbreds that were mongrels sticking their head in the air and I couldn't control them. And it's sort of funny how that is similar.
And I guess even here more than in Australia, if you have a horse, what do? You go on a show.
Yeah.
Even if you're not ready for it, you go on a show, and every week. So I guess you just learn to pretend or just make the best of it.
Yeah.
Because I don't like to not do a good test either.
Yeah.
So you try to work the best you can within the possibility, like the capabilities of you and your horse.
Yeah. So of course you were successful up to Grand Prix, having lessons with Nicole. Actually, I'll give a bit of content here. Actually, the first time I don't know, met. Maybe it's so I should say it's the first time I saw you. I was there with Brett Parbury, and Brett was training with Edward, and I was training with Hans Peter, and you were there having a lesson with Nicole, and I had a lovely conversation with Mama, and then I thought, I will, she's spoken, of course, like Mama does. This is my daughter, and she's riding Grand Prix, and this is Thriller, and then we went to say hello, and I got the snob from. I was like, oh, okay, friendly mum and not so friendly daughter. What what was your side of the story actually? Maybe you can tell your side for that.
I was probably annoyed with my mum being distracted.
Not watching your lesson.
We were there for the lesson and going to be better and have a job, have a goal. And my mum was just chit-chatting around. And as you know me now, it wasn't snobbiness, but just focus. And I don't really like to talk to strangers.
Yeah.
So that was probably it.
But there was also something with the truck.
Yeah, the truck broke down and we had to wait for the mechanic. And so there was a bit of stress with that. And I just, of course, had a lot of things to do.
Yeah.
So I was a bit like, and didn't feel I had time to chit-chat around.
How was that time in Thriller? I mean, you're riding Grand Prix, and then you're, of course, there with Nicole, and you'd also worked for Nicole and Edward for a time. How is that when you have a horse like Thriller and you're really where you were? Because when I, of course, spoke with Brett, I was like, who is this Katja? Is this girl riding? He's like, yeah, she's like super focused and she's like up and coming, and it's going to be a really interesting combination. And I was like, okay, these Europeans, they're like serious athletes. Like, we're nowhere near that focused here in Australia. At that time, were you really like, this is the goal? I'm going international. I'm going to ride against Edward and beat him at the next national championship. What was the
No, I don't think I've ever had the feeling like competing against others. Just more because you can't influence other people, and of course it's great to ride amongst all those riders. But it's actually more my goal to get the best out of myself and my horse, and in a good way. And at that time, I was doing Grand Prix with Triller, but I also felt we were not always on the same page. We knew each other very, very well, and we could still do everything, but still we were not always in the right conversation. So I was also a little bit searching, worried, and a bit cross. Like, okay, I'm doing Grand Prix, but is this the way I want to go? So I guess I had a lot of mixed feelings back then, because
Even though you were doing well.
even though I was doing Grand Prix and international, and I had already quite some nice scores and placings. Yeah, like I say, it's of course it's a goal to ride Grand Prix, but it's not for me everything. The most important for me is to do it in a way that me and my horse are happy, and also are in a good space, and then can achieve the best. Of course you want to win, or like do the best you can, but like I said, you can't influence others and you can't influence the judges. So
You're on your own deal.
Exactly.
What do you think? Do you think is there an aspect you can explain that gives you? Okay, I'll give you an example. Like the first time I saw you international was in Den Bosch.
Yeah.
And we'll go backwards a step afterwards. But just to give reference here, I saw you in the warming up. Triller was being I was just thinking, what is this horse? He's only rearing up, only stopping, only kicking out at your leg. I mean, I don't think you could practice one complete exercise in the warming up. And I was thinking, she's not going to go in. And then they call your name and you went in. And then he won. Like, how is my brain would just say, well, what the hell? I'm not going to have any chance here.
Nope.
How do you go in and then still be able to perform in that way and get it to work and give him a good feeling?
But of course, there are many years in between. I started with him at nearly the lowest level and brought him all the way up. So he had done a lot of shows, and I knew him back then. Of course, I wasn't comfortable at all having that in the warming up, but that was because I put him in a place which he didn't feel comfortable and was in a panic. And then he is quite a drama queen, so he was just throwing a tantrum and saying, "Oh, I can't do this too much, this too much."
Winning performance.
Yeah, and then he would come in the main arena where it's quiet. The crowd there is a lot of people sitting there, but they're not on top of the arena. So it's just actually, I think both him and me only see the arena, maybe the judges, but not even really, and just feel like, okay, now we know what to do. And I knew he knew the exercises, so then I could actually just rely on him and go in.
Focus.
Yeah, of course, sometimes it didn't always go as to plan. Sometimes he would still get a meltdown in the ring. But like I said before about influences on judges or whatever, you can't
always
predict that up front. So I would just hope for the best and see, do what I can.
And would you have a feeling in your body then when you went in the ring, you were like, oh, now he's good. I let go of completely the tension and the things in the warming up, and now we can just do our job? Or does you have some residue from the...
Well, with Triller, you could never let go, because if I would lean back, he would definitely lean back. So, but I think, letting go is not the right word to say, but I would just go in
okay now.
In the test, and I just see. And then, I think it worked a bit both ways. We knew from each other what we had. And,
in that moment.
Yeah.
So, of course, the real moment where we sort of met properly after the where you snobbed me off in Hauskamp was, of course, I moved to the Netherlands. I had a horse in Denmark at that time that was bred by Klaas and Jet, who lived down the road from your parents. And the horse was sold to a very good friend of mine, Renee Pedretti. And Renee was riding in Denmark at that time, and she had a few problems. And she brought the horse to me, and I helped her through it. And during that time, Klaas and Jet came to look at the horse to see how it was going. They, of course, wanted to go good with the new owner. And I got to know Klaas and Jet at that time. And then I was traveling to train and ride with Hans Peter. And I was doing a lot of clinics in Belgium and France. And so it made sense for me to be more Central Europe. So I thought to move to the Netherlands. And then I contacted Brett. And Brett was also very good friends and a long time staying with Klaas and Jet. And so he said, you should ask them because possibly they could make room in the stable. So I contacted them, and Klaas and Jet were amazing for me when we first came to the Netherlands, and they showed us how everything worked. They took us to the shows. They really made us feel at home there in their stable. They introduced us to all the Dutch cultures and really made us feel at home. And of course, that was down the road from your parents, and also down the road there in Balkum, in Berlicum, with Willy Wijnen. And Willy Wijnen had a mare, Torina, who was difficult in the Piaf. And I think that Klaas had spoken to Willy and said, we have this Australian guy here, you should bring the horse and maybe he could work it. What was can you remember back your thoughts at that time? Like, what would an Aussie guy from Melbourne know about helping a horse with Piaf? Or was it kind of this, did you have this European fantasy of an Australian guy, horseman from the bush, he must be able to do something different? Or say something good here. Say something.
You know me better than that.
We'll just see
No,
if you can do anything.
No, like as you of course know me, I'm always open to learn new things, and we were a bit stuck with her. Like she was doing good also, but and she was doing some kind of piaf, but she also broke her hip when she was young, so she was a bit crooked there. And then we were like, okay, can she do it or can she not? And is it is it possible for her? So we also felt like we had to do it in a different way than we were doing it.
Yeah.
And then, like you said, Klaas mentioned it to Willy and to us, of course, because we knew you were coming, but we saw some videos and I thought, he's riding around with a chainsaw. Boo, good for him, but just see what he can actually do. And then we just thought, well, we can give it a go and just see where it goes. And that's how it started. Yeah.
It was quite a miraculous story also with Torina, because if you think a young horse broke the hip, everybody said this is the end for this horse. And Willy gave her the time. She laid down for I don't know how long. She had a hip behind like this.
Yeah.
And then still you were able to ride international Grand Prix.
Yeah. She had a lion heart. She's still alive. Yeah. She has a lion heart. And was also, an incredibly strong horse.
Yeah.
And would just do it for you.
And a sweet, willing character.
Yeah.
She always wanted to try.
Yeah.
I remember in the beginning going in hand the first time and just seeing how the functionality and the awareness of her body was, and she couldn't actually stand on one hind leg. She was trying so desperately to understand what I wanted, but physically she'd found a compensation pattern in her body that allowed her to do the work and to be functional and to be happy and to be comfortable.
Yeah.
But it was such a dysfunction that she couldn't find the connection. But she tried like hell to...
But that's also why, in the end, she did International Grand Prix, and she gave her everything. But that's in the end also why we decided to give her a lower
level that it was within her comfort zone and she could excel.
Yeah,
with
exactly.
what body allowed.
Yeah.
So of course we had our first interesting introduction to Thriller after we'd worked with Torina a bit, and we thought it was a good idea to work together with Thriller, and we had our first conversation. That was quite a spicy one, and I met the character of my life after thinking that I'd, worked some of the wildest horses from the outback in Australia to the most crazy stallions within Europe, and then you come across this guy with like the biggest, greatest attitude you could possibly imagine. I mean, I remember just trying to touch him and him kicking the back boots off because I wanted to touch his belly. Squealing and carrying on. And then,
like I said, he's quite dramatic.
yeah, and he of course had a reputation and for being quite naughty. And then, of course, I saw the opportunity first coming into Holland. They asked me to do the Global Dressage Forum. We'd been working together for a little while, and yeah, I asked you if it was a good idea or if you would be willing to be riding in the Global Dressage Forum together with me. What was that? And then you, of course, said clearly to me, well, if we're going to do this, because probably I was a little bit on my Australian timeline and not always there when you actually had a lesson scheduled, or you would turn up, or you would have to wait for me or whatever. I have improved a bit since then. But you clearly said, well, if we're going to do this, because Global Dress Forum was, of course, a serious crowd, and that we're going to really train every day. What do you remember back what that training looked like? Because, of course, it's going to be pretty different than like training dressage. We were like
Yes, of course.
shooting rifles off him, and then you're like, we're going to probably bring the saws out soon.
No. Then, of course, I knew you wanted to take it to an extreme to show people what is possible and so on. So I know it was shooting of a rifle, but that doesn't. It's just to show people what is possible, but it's nothing to do with the actual training. I knew that, of course, back then when I started to work with you. But actually, for me, the hardest part was to change my riding. Not, yeah, of course, also the groundwork and learning all those things, but the way of riding was, as you're well aware of, was very, very difficult for me. And we talk about that often because we both have quite a persistent character and like get frustrated when things don't go our way, and we see that back in our children. So
Yeah.
we do talk about that a lot.
Was that a weird thing to do, though, to like all of a sudden you're training, let's say in a traditional sense with dressage for sport, with high profile, well-educated, very successful riders and trainers, and then you start working with a guy who's like teaching yours to go over plastic and cracking stock whips. And I remember going to Edward and Speeder the first time, and I had a young mare with me, and in between the lessons I was teaching her the lay down and maybe doing a little bit with the whip, and they were just like, what planet is this guy from? Like, I didn't even really think about it, but you just sort of went into it like it was always normal.
Well, like I said earlier, I knew I was on a path with Triller where I didn't want to be on. I knew it could be different, and all what you said and explained made a lot of sense to me. Even though it was difficult, I was very determined to try to apply it.
Yeah.
So that I could change the life for me and Triller, and also for my other horses, of course. But he really forced me to go in a different route because I didn't want to be in the argument all the time. And yeah, okay, going over plastic, but I also, yeah, like I say, it didn't really matter what the tool was or whatever. It's just his mindset and change his confidence and whatever. And that was very important for him. Like we've, even after we worked years together, we still found out that
He
we
kept
had,
us sharp.
yes, because we thought
Yeah.
he was going good at home, but if we didn't prepare all the steps, he would still would come across
Yeah.
a hiccup on the shows.
Yeah. How was it that moment? Like, how did you actually get through that period of changing a system? How did it make you feel actually in the beginning? Because there was a frustrating moments, of course.
It's
I thought
very
you had-
cruel that you ask me
Well,
now,
no, I
because
thought-
you are very well aware.
Okay, there were some difficult moments there, but I actually thought you coped with it really well, because it wasn't easy. And what I was telling you to do, I knew was like going from Mars to Venus.
Yeah, it
was a
was.
total different language, different way of everything. And actually, a lot of the stuff was counterintuitive, but it was also the opposite to what you would normally do in riding. What sort of errors does that create or do to your confidence? Or
Well, many, because yeah, like it was 180 degrees difference of what I was used to be doing. But yeah, like I said, it made a lot of sense to me what you were saying, and so I knew in my mind where to go. But the frustrating bit is then that you know it in your mind, but you feel your body doing the wrong thing. That made me got so angry about myself. Yeah, that's why you
Just a
asked it,
little bit,
because
it's like,
I would be in tears and like swear like that I would make mistakes, because I hate to make mistakes. I like to do things well at the first attempt, but of course that's not how it works. So it was very, very difficult. But yeah, I think also, that I always asked a lot of questions, because that's how my brain works. If I've got it in my brain that I know why I have to do something and understand the logic, then I can feel my way around it. But it's the hardest part when I have to think too much, then I can't feel, and then I get very frustrated. But that just needed some time, huh?
Yeah, but it was something that I really respected at the time. I remember you coming for the lessons, and actually Will saying to me afterwards, "Has she given up yet? She's still trying with it." I said, "Yeah, she's resilient. I mean, it's going to work whether we like it or not." What do you think? If you sort of go back and you see the process you made with Triller and all of the things that you were able to achieve with him, and the sort of strong character he has, and to go all those years International Grand Prix. I mean, I don't know how many years in a row he was at Indo-Brabant at the local World Cup show, but more than 8 years in a row or something. What is it in him that you think enabled him to do all the things? I mean, how old is he now?
He's turning 26 in May.
I should probably know that. He's still strong as an ox here in the stable. What is it in him that gives him that?
Well,
people have asked me and I can't answer it, and you obviously know him better than me.
yeah, I also don't really know, but of course the strongness in him, which was difficult, is also made him who he is. And I think also he was because he's a drama queen, when he would think, oh, I feel something coming up next week, I better say it now. So
Preservation.
yes, that's very, very Triller-like. I could be really on top of it if I just, and of course not in the beginning, because then actually when he was young, all the sideways were always difficult, and I had one saddle which I rode all my horses with. But that back then, that's just what you do. And actually I only found out when he was 11 that he had kissing spines due to a bad fitting saddle, and when we made x-rays of his back and whatever. But then in hindsight, that explained a lot with all the sideways, why it was always such a drama. And like, for example, teaching him the flying change, which was a straightforward movement, was easy peasy. Piaf Passage was easy. So sad for Triller, but on hindsight, that made a lot of sense. So actually he was already telling me when he was young with sideways, like, oh, this is uncomfortable. And like I said, that I got to know him better, that I knew when there were certain things, I knew, now we have to take care or adjust something, that we could keep him sound and going. And yeah, back then I didn't realize how strong he was, that he could do everything. And of course, he did a lot of international shows, and we would really build him up for it and train him, give him a bit off afterwards. But still, yeah, back then I didn't realize how strong he is compared to a lot of other horses.
Yeah, and of course the breeding, the Gribaldi, the Amor, strong horses mentally and also physically, and also character-wise. I really learned a lot from him. And Edward had also said, it's a Gribaldi. Don't try to change something overnight, because he will say, hang on, I wasn't in the last 3 board meetings. We're not doing it that way. But it's also gives you a really good idea, because a horse can express his feelings so much. It really sets the boundaries and gives you the awareness of what you're changing, because sometimes some horses just go along with it, and you end up sort of doing things without knowing, because they don't say anything. So I think
Oh,
we
yeah,
learned a lot from him in that way.
definitely.
So he took us, of course, to many amazing places around the world. Are there some memorable ones that really stand out? I know that there's, of course, the ones that stand out in our mind. We always talk about as the one where we prepared the most and we really worked hard, and then it was a complete failure and we were both grumpy, sitting on the couch, not wanting to talk to anyone, wanting to go home. But if we think about the really memorable ones, the ones where we thought like this was, it
Yeah.
doesn't even have to be the result, but just, I know we don't focus actually much on what the percentages were and where he placed and what he did. But the moments where you ride and you just think, we're here. He brought us
Yeah.
here.
Well, that's it's hard to pick one or even a few because he did. Yeah, he brought what you say. He brought us to so many places, and we had so much fun at the shows. And also, yeah, it's such an experience. And I think also he really liked it to be the king and get all the attention. And he really liked just the normal people around him, just my mom, me, and you. Nobody else was allowed, and just his apple before the ride, a carrot after the ride. Don't mix it around. Like he was very much in autistic in those things. Yeah, of course there are some special ones, like doing the Nations Cup in Aken. My first time Nations Cup in Videoban was really special to ride for the team. Going to Doha twice, flying there, but also London, but like Falsterbo, yeah. And there are even the Glock shows, many shows that were very, very special. But I think I actually enjoyed it the most. Yeah, being together with him, autistic, was, I guess I get that in my horses. It's very much me as well. So yeah, you can say he's autistic, but I'm probably just the same as him. Yeah, I can't really pick one. It's the whole journey all together.
And the memories that it creates for everybody that was involved.
Exactly.
So we, of course, at some point transitioned from being trainer-student to partners. And of course, when you talk to every married couple that tries to train together, at least every male that I talk to says that that's impossible. Were there difficulties in that from that perspective? Straight out of the
I don't know what
when you think about your husband, this other guy that's pretty wonderful in a lot of things, if you think about that transition, were there difficulties that you
Yes, because before we were partners, I could at least schedule a lesson in.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, I was paying for it then. And get a
Your
lesson.
lessons got cheaper after that, actually.
Yeah, because I don't have lessons. No. Yeah, I think, of course, it changed, but because it went so gradually, I think, and our journey with Thriller, I don't think it changed much because we were so
in the routine.
All the three of us knew, yeah, what was happening. But I think it's more with the other horses.
Yeah.
And of course, there's also life is busy. We've got children now. Everything changed a lot since our Thriller time. So yes, of course, it's very difficult now because, and you're the same with me. When we finally have time to look at each other, we don't always agree, and then we get a bit grumpy. But I actually think we've already been are going a bit better than we have been.
Yeah.
We try to breathe and not be so.
Yeah, and also I think we took moments to analyze actually when we feel that we don't actually really argue at all.
No, because we hardly ride together.
No, but I mean just in general.
In general, no, yeah.
And I think it's that we are able to analyze because I felt that I made the mistake of feeling now you're in an intimate relationship that you assume that your partner just knows what you're thinking, or you assume that they should know that part of the riding. Like, I know it and we are together. Why don't you just feel and understand what I'm thinking? And that was, of course, just like a stupid, ridiculous, unconscious mistake. And when I sort of would all, and I remember a quote from Tony Robbins that says, if you don't want things to go down the wrong street, you have to treat it like you do in the end, like you did in the beginning, and it'll sort of stay on track. And it was those little things, but it's just interesting to hear. So actually, we're different than the rest of the world because actually, you think we're actually a successful couple training horses together. We do it successfully. We definitely don't spend the time we probably should together. We often say that. We
Yes.
often say, actually, when you watch, the worst thing is actually when you watch me teach somebody else.
Yeah, because then you take all the time and you're patient as to say what you think. But what you were just saying before, what I think is also changed. Yes, we have the same philosophy and the same way of looking at horses and working with horses and so on, but we're very different riders.
Yeah.
I ride my horses. We have the same goal, but we still do it in a different way. Not saying what you're doing is wrong or what I'm doing is wrong, or
With
but it's
that feeling.
with our own feeling. And I think that sometimes clashes because we don't look at each other so often, and then and I also feel it actually in helping the girls at the stable that we sometimes say the total opposite, because I say how I would do it and you say how you would do it, which of course it's what suits them, and it's also of course a different situation sometimes. But I think actually that's a bit different than before. Before we were maybe more on one page.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Because we train less together because the busy lives come
yes.
in, and
But then if we rarely get, if Morten's here and he helps one of us, then we're totally on the same page and everything makes sense. So we're not that far apart from each other. It's just those
and of course
tiny bits.
that's the sort of that thing of, if we said, if we put that much time into each other, then we could actually teach all the horses to be really amazing, but we're focusing on everybody else.
Yeah, and
because that's our business.
Yeah.
So your husband, of course, has done some pretty outrageous things publicly on large stages in front of thousands of people, both humorous, possibly ridiculous sometimes. But of course, that sometimes worked in our process of me being a clown and doing a masterclass. Sometimes was enabling us to get a wild card into shows we probably wouldn't have. So on my part, that was had some value. How do you, of course, react to those things?
Oh, I still remember the first time you were doing Brett Kidding, and you did tell me and the groom what was with us back then a little bit, but you actually didn't tell us fully what you were going to do. And I remember watching that there back, and I thought, oh my God, what is he doing? I wanted to just be behind the like hide away, and like, oh my God, he's not doing that for real. And I knew it made sense and it's really good, and I totally agree with it. But to see him do it, I was like, oh my God, he's not doing that for real. Because of course as who I am, I could never put myself in a situation like that. I don't. But yeah, so that's how I felt about the first time.
And when I think back, actually, the invention of that, of course, it came off the back of all the clinics in Germany I was doing, and in the cold and in the winter, and preaching all the things we should do. And then I had to spin it on its head and let's explain the things that we all think about but don't dare to do. And then, of course, the opportunity came with Carl Hester, Richard Davison, come to the dressage convention and just do your thing. And I also didn't really have much of a plan. And when I look back, like their prestigious event, for those two guys, they invite you, and then
but you said also both to them and to me, because we had that morning talk before, that what you were going to do and going to say, but not how you were going to act, how with the riding. So we knew a bit what was coming, but not that Brett Kidding was Brett Kidding.
Yeah, and where it went to.
Yeah, no.
Riding at London Olympia.
Yeah.
At Vallegro's Farewell, also in a stadium like that.
Yeah.
Could you stand there and go, oh, that's my It's my partner there. It's him riding real flash at London Olympia.
Brad Kidding is not my partner.
No, he's the other guy. Did people
Exactly.
come to you and go, what the hell is he doing?
No, you were doing it right before I had to go in the Grand Prix.
Yeah,
remember?
but I mean in general.
No, then like everybody loved it. Everybody was talking about it and loved it too. Yeah, no.
That's
All the riders were talking about it. That set the standard of the rest of the Grand Prix.
There's some questions from some other people that I said I should ask, but one of them was, do you consider your husband to be a workaholic?
A little bit.
But it's not. It's, can probably be out of balance sometimes. That was the answer, a little bit. It's good. Moving on. Now, of course, now you're not just a rider. You're the mother of our two beautiful daughters, Izzy and Liva. But you're also a professional running your own business, part of the team here that runs the stable and running the whole household. Has motherhood changed you as a rider and how you think about your horses and your sports career?
Of course, has changed me. And I think it has changed me too as a rider. Like before you have the children, the shows and that is like what you work for. But to do international shows with both the girls, and then I would really feel like I have to drop some balls somewhere, and I like to do everything myself. And of course, if I want to do an international show, I want to do it good. I don't want to do it half, but then I feel I'm doing short to the children and so on, so on. So of course, it has changed me. My goals are different now. Not saying that I still really love riding and I enjoy the training. And if it comes to our path again, that we have a horse which is ready for it and that I can do a good international show, yes, then I want to do it. But in my mind, it has to justify that I maybe have less time for the children. But at the same time, they're also growing and getting older. And yeah, of course, they still need me, but a little less. So,
Do you have a different outlook of how you would go about it in competition? Like your focus would be different. You would do it in a different way, maybe?
No, I think that's the problem. If I do it, I want to do it focused and I want to do it good.
Yeah.
But then I have to arrange a lot of things. And so I have to, of course, my parents would always come to shows anyways to watch. But now they have to come and mind the children. And I need somebody with me extra then. So for my feeling, I need a lot of people around me.
Yeah.
And then I want to do a good job that it's worth it.
Yeah. Are there things in the horses or with the ponies that you want to give to the girls? Like experiences that you had that you want them to experience and enjoy?
A partnership, what they can have with an animal. I think that's the most important.
Yeah.
It's not the successes at all. It's just
what they can give you as far as feeling like you have a mate and you...
Yeah, exactly.
If you could speak to a highly successful rider, woman or man, but let's say particularly to a woman who is in a really high point of her career, but also feels that the body clock is ticking, and thinking about kids, what would you say to them?
Yeah, you can't you can't really say anything because I think it's different for everyone. Like for me, our life feels really good. I'm really happy, and yes, I'm riding a lot less shows, but I'm okay with it. I really enjoy riding because I wouldn't want to give up the riding, but I'm okay with doing less shows, and I really enjoy the kids. And for me and for us, I can say this is really a perfect life. Yes, okay, even though you're a bit of a workaholic, but
I knew it would come back eventually.
but I don't think, everybody is different. And some people do write still a lot of internationals with their children, and if it works for them, it's also good. I don't think there's a right or wrong. You just have to do with children what feels good for you.
Yeah.
then it feels good for the children.
Yeah. Where do you think your love for teaching comes from?
I want other people to experience the same feeling you can achieve with the horses, that you can feel the connection, and when it comes all together, how it feels.
Do you enjoy more having a really talented combination, like a really talented rider and a really talented horse, and they progress and they go well and they do well at competitions, or one that has a real difficulty and you've been able to find a solution and get them through it, and maybe they don't ever go to competition, but that they
Yeah,
really...
yeah. Also, in my teaching, it doesn't matter to me at all if they are successful, yes or no, as long as they, we progress and make a real change.
and it's enjoyable to
Yeah.
do it. Yeah, and that's what I also feel with when you run the clinics here at home. You have also a really mix of riders. And actually, when everybody comes here, we have professional riders that are riding stallions, going to stallion shows, also riders riding at a high level, international, and then riders that are starting out, riders that are having a Norwegian pony, and everybody sort of comes and just is doing their thing, and nobody says, "Oh, what is that amateur doing here?" or "Oh, I feel intimidated because that professional rider's here." But I think it comes across because you also are not thinking that. You're just
No,
there, "Oh,
it
it's
also
okay."
shouldn't be like that. Everybody is value as long as you love your horse and you want to make life better for you and your horse. Doesn't matter at all
Yeah.
what you...
So, of course, there's a lot of things you've taught me over the years, that it's okay to rest sometimes, that a break can actually improve my performance. Still working on that bit sometimes.
You never take a break unless you're sleeping. Your break is either doing barbecues or windsurfing, but that's a break in your mind, not in your body. And I
Yeah.
think that's the most important thing. You don't have to do nothing, but just do something else. It's sometimes good.
Yeah. And that sometimes not everything is always possible, and that's also okay.
Yes, that's right.
That I have to remember to cuddle my own horses sometimes, and that somewhere along the line I had forgotten that. Probably in that period where the pressure's on to build the business and the horses are there to perform and do the clinics, and yeah, you get very much in that zone. And that I have to remember to enjoy the moments while they're there, because they're not there for long. Is there something else that you would like me to learn? As long as it's not that I shouldn't come in the house with my dirty boots when the floor's clean, just clean. Because
You're never gonna learn that. So no, actually, that was
they're
pretty
the
well on
important
point.
ones.
Yeah.
And just so I can work on being a really good husband, is there something else you still want to do, or somewhere else you want to go
Oh,
in your life?
yeah, we want to travel a lot, and I want to see more of the world also with our children. But at the same time, we also really want to change things here. And I think it's also good that we show our kids that you can dream, that if you work hard, you can dream and achieve things. Um, yeah, but I'm actually really happy with our life, even though it's quite chaotic and busy and so on. Doesn't matter. I think we're on a good track, and actually do have the same dreams about the future.
I have, maybe you don't know, I have struggled sometimes with feeling like I had the struggle with like kids growing up and having everything. I have this aversion because I had friends when I was young. I grew up not so wealthy and my parents were struggling, and mum was working 3 jobs, and, it wasn't luxury. Didn't go on international holidays and going skiing holidays with my parents and all that sort of stuff. And growing up, the kids that did have all those things didn't necessarily have the work ethic, and maybe some, sat on their laurels and didn't sort of achieve the things you thought they would with the opportunities they had. And I always think sometimes with our girls that what is the best thing? You know, and I think of that quote of it's not what you leave to them, but it's what you leave in them that it's important. And sometimes I struggle with the fact that, okay, we have done well together and we have a good life and we provide our kids with a lot of things. But is that, you know, I feel that I would want our girls to have the same passion and drive to achieve and do the things they really want to do, because I've done the things that I want to do. It wasn't that I thought, you know, no, I stay in Australia because that's much easier and it's a much better life and it's more easygoing. And I didn't push against the pressures and the resistance of the world that says you can't do that. And I want them to have the same drive. And something in me tells me that if they have kind of some luxury, that they're not going to have that. How do you see it for the girls?
Well, I think they are pretty spoiled, but I think that we also show them that that you have to work for things. They see that you have to work a lot, and so that we can make all those things possible. And I think also, yes, they are spoiled, but they don't get just everything what they want, which is important. And also that we sometimes say, if you want something, okay, then we have to make a plan that you can work for it, or that how can we make it possible. And they're still young now, but I think if we already implement that in them and talk about it in that way, we can hopefully educate them that and make sure that they have that drive. But yeah, of course, in a way, I understand your point of view. Not that my parents were rich, but they also always worked really, really hard and saved money so we could do special things. And I was always really aware of that, and knew it was very luxury to have an own pony and to go on a skiing holiday and so on. But they would never just spend money. Like, it was always well thought, and they had to make decisions. And I think if we show that to the girls, they will keep that in them as well. And I think it's also a character.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I've been to the hardest part of all of the podcasts. I got to ask the questions that I thought were important, and I got more than I answered for the bargain for the answers. Thank you very much, Katja Tucker, for being a guest on your husband's podcast.
You're very welcome.
Thank you for tuning in, guys. I hope you enjoyed this pressure situation as much as me. Be sure to share it. We'll see you on the next one.